Welcome to A-Room and Props. This video is going to be a tutorial video for anyone that want to buy a raw print of the Red Hood helmet to show you how to go from this to basically to this. Some of you is a little bit more affordable to buy the raw print just like this before buying it finished and doing all the work yourself, sanding down, primering, and pretty much doing the whole paint job. So the purpose of this video is actually for you that like to buy the raw prints and then want to make it all yourself. So some people would print the prints a little bit different. This is the way that I actually print this helmet right here. And then I have absolutely no supports. It's basically only 3 parts of support. Is basically the eyes and the chin. The back piece I actually printed out like pretty much upside down like this, so it has minimal I would say minimal supports on the actual part of the finish area. So I actually let all the supports in on this helmet just to give you like a little bit of idea of where you need to focus a little bit more when you want to finish these prints. So my prints I actually print it this way pretty much, so you can actually see pretty much like chin and all the way up, and then the supports are only actually on the eyes. Usually the portion of the eyes are going to be just in there if you're not going to be able to see it too much because everything is all dark and black. The supports on the chin, however, they like to kind of grab on a little bit more, and this is where all the weight of the whole helmet goes into it. So I usually just use a little bit of pliers and then just open it up a little bit, or pull it up a little bit, and then just clean it up little by little until it's fairly smooth. So after you take the chin support off, this is what you are going to be left with. It's a little bit rough, but a little bit of sanding there and a little bit of bondo is what I use to get this very, very, very smooth. Another portion of the helmet is this top portion of the helmet. The helmet does print out like this, and it does no support in the middle of the top of the helmet. So sometimes there's a little bit of stringing on top here. It's like loose strings. What I do is I use a little bit of lighter, and then to just kind of just slightly soften the plastic and then try to stick it into and maybe kind of like fuse it a little bit together. So after taking all the supports and cleaning out all the little supports and the little extra stuff, the little portion of the inside with a little bit of loose string that is already kind of fused together, this is basically what you will receive from me if you buy a raw print of Red Hood helmet. Just making sure that everything fits correctly, the backing plate. So it comes in 2 pieces. It comes the front piece and it comes the back piece, because like this you will not be able to fit your head underneath in this hole. So you slide the helmet this way, and then this back portion connects like this, and this is going to be your decision to either use magnets or you use straps like I've used on this helmet before. I use elastic straps to kind of hold this part of the backing plate into the helmet. So the most important thing to finishing a 3D printed helmet just like this one, the most important thing is actually the preparation, the sanding down. It's the most important part. You have to sand it down really, really, really well, because it's 3D printed. It prints and basically makes little lines. So the lines, a lot of the lines are very visible if you don't sand it down and you do the whole preparation correctly. There's might be some lines that are more visible than the others, some parts of the helmet that there's like absolutely no lines, but it's never 100% perfect. So the most important thing is actual sanding down and preparation of the helmet before you get to the final paint. So what we are going to do now is actually get into and show you how much I actually prep this helmet before we actually go into the final paint. So we're gonna sand it down. We're gonna do primer. Top of the primer, we're gonna make sure we're gonna probably more than likely sand down like 2 or 3 times, and another good hand of primer to make sure that all the lines are completely invisible. One of the things that you will need to give it a more focus is on top, because there's no supports on the bottom, so there's creates just a little bit more lines here. And of course the chin portion, because that was where the supports were. the eyes, which are a little hard to kind of sand down, I don't focus on the eyes too much. I just make sure that it's straight and there's no like extra material there. It's all going to be black and you're not going to be able to see anything in there. And the lines, I usually leave the lines like that because they also go into black and you're not going to be able to see much at all. So now let's get to it. Now that I'm in my garage, it is time to start the sanding process. And I'm going to show you all the materials that I actually use to sand and paint. So I actually use, for the first thing I use the palm sander. This is a battery one. It is very important, right? I have two palm sanders here. I just wanted to make sure that I show you this. This is a palm sander, a cheaper one from Harbor Freight. This is only 1 speed. It goes pretty fast. Now this palm sander, it's a little bit more expensive, but this is variable speed, so I can put it on 1 and go really slow. The reason why you want to go really slow with a rotary palm sander is because if you go way too fast, you're going to burn the actual plastic. So I've tested this before, that this does not work, but this variable one, put it on number 1 or 2 or 3 and it works perfect. And then I use rotary, sanding papers. Also, if you don't have, something like this, you can do it all by hand, and you just want to make sure that you buy, like 180 or even 80, like I have here for some of the prints. 180, 220, go up until you can get it really super smooth. Another thing that you might want to use is this filers for like the eyes, if the eyes are a little jagged, or the lines too. You can clean up the lines with little filers like this. As for paint, the most important paint right here is going to be the filler primer. I use this Krylon 2-in-1 primer. Very good. It goes pretty thick and it covers the lines really well, and I really love it. And it's only like $4, around $4. Anything that you see here is going to be in the description below. I'm going to put all the links. Another thing that I do after everything's nice and smooth with this primer, I use a gold base. I use this gold chrome to put on the helmet. Before, I ended up putting this metal cast. It's like a red chrome-ish kind of color, and this gives it a really nice shine. But what really makes a difference is this gold base. You put this gold base here, you put a little thin coats of this, and it brings out really shiny. That's how my helmet looks so good. So right now, I know that some of you don't have, palm sanders like that. You can go by hand or use one of those little blocks of sanding blocks. You can use those to start sanding the helmet. It just takes a little bit of time. So this is the actual most important part, is actually preparation and making sure that all the lines are kind of blended in. Okay, so I've been at it for a little bit, and as you can see, it's sanded. I'm not finished completely sanded. I just wanted to show you the layer lines of the helmet or any 3D print. So this is very lightly with the sandpaper, just so you're aware of visible layer lines, and this is what happens when you don't sand it down. So this is just very lightly, just so they can come out visible. And this is basically when you sand it down pretty good, so you can see that almost every single layer line is blended in. I still have some more sanding to go, and then and this is all with the palm sander. And then after I use the palm sander, there's a lot of spots, like all the little curves. You're not able to get in there with the palm sander, so you're gonna have to do it by hand with a little bit of sandpaper, or you can use a little block of sandpaper, or this little block right here. You can use this because it's a little bit, it's like a little sponge. So yeah, so this is where I'm at right now. I'm gonna finish this side, and I'm gonna keep going and try to hit those little lines inside of the eyebrows, or like the middle part. Okay, so I have pretty much sanded everything down. I have put already some of that little bondo spot putty on all the areas that are going to be needing, or that I think are going to be needing, a little bit of bondo here, as you can see on the top, on the chin also, and some little places on the side, and like this side right here, some of the little lines that I could definitely see that will need a little bit of bondo. You'll see right here on the face a little bit. Okay, so this is what the helmet looks like after it's been pretty much filled, I used a little spot putty and all cleaned up, sanded down pretty good. I sanded down to like using a 400 and 600 grit paper, because I used like 600, 400 for the filler primer. As you can see, there's a couple spots that the sand paper doesn't get to, a couple little lines, but those lines, that is what we are going to be filling with this filler primer. The filler primer does a really good job at filling those lines in. So very important is that you read your instructions for the filler primer, because if you want to follow every single instruction for every single can. You have to look at how long it takes to cure, or what is the time frame wherever you can actually put in your other coats in. So for this filler primer, what it tells you is that you're going to do 2 light coats and then 1 medium wet coat. And then between coats is 10 minutes between coats. The reason why you want to do a couple coats of this is because basically when you spray on it, you make one little light coat, another light coat, and then another medium coat. What you want to do is you want to have like that thickness in there, because that is what's going to fill in all the lines. And when you're going to sand it, whatever line are there, you can kind of sand down those lines and make it nice and flush, and pretty much disappear any lines that are still might be visible. So right now I'm just gonna give it a couple of light coats and my medium coat, and then you'll see that it's gonna be looking pretty good. And then from there I'm gonna find any other lines that might be visible, sand them down, and repeat a little bit more with the filler primer. Okay, so we have here the helmet with the first hand of primer here, front and rear. There's something that you guys should know, that is something that I actually, well, I should have known that I shouldn't have done this before, but I don't know if you are able to see these little bumps right there, all those little bumps. Those are the infill inside. There's like lines inside to make this stronger. With the infill, it's like 5%. Kind of creates a little bump, and the problem that I did is that I painted this outside in direct sunlight, and I left it outside for just like 10 minutes. And because it's almost, or it was almost 100 degrees outside, the sun, the heat, all that stuff created slight little bumps there that are visible. And it's pretty much the first time. I've always painted this inside the garage. This time I just decided to kind of like put it outside and paint it real quick, and I was just letting it dry those first couple hands before I do the really heavy one, and that's what happened. So that is something that you should be definitely aware of, just making sure that, because this is plastic, the heat, the extreme sun that can happen. So right now, so it doesn't look too bad, no big layer lines. There's a couple lines that are a little bit visible. There's one that line right there, I think it's because of the heat, it kind of like something happened. So that's gonna be fixed, but it's filled in. So now I'm just gonna take some sandpaper and go over it to make it smoother, as smooth as possible as I can. Might not be able to fix those bumps there, but let's see. And then this one, as you can see, nothing happened to it, because this was pretty much I did it by hand outside, and then I put it right back into the garage because I was holding it with a can like this, paint it and put it right back into the garage. So you can see this, like nothing happened to this. So now you see the difference between how it should be looking and what you should not be doing. So my mistakes, so you learn from my mistakes so you don't do it yourself. And as you can see, this one looks gorgeous right there, just like absolutely no lines, no bumps, no nothing. Okay, so I am pretty happy of how it has come out already. I have given it pretty much like 2 hands of primer. I did fill a primer, sent it down, did fill a primer again, sent it down again to make sure that those little bumps kind of like disappear with it and all the little scratches here and there. So right now what it is next to be done is to put the gold base. So this is the gold base that I use, and this is very important what I'm going to tell you from now, because of how the paints, like I said before, you have to read what says in the back, and it tells you like a time frame where you need to put your other base or your different color or whatever. What I do is I do this gold base. I just do one nice hand of this base and I wait 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I go into the red metal cast. And then this is very finicky to use. It's very, I will say, is a little bit aggressive. So after 10 minutes of the gold, I use this and I do very, very, very light hands. If you do too heavy, it's gonna go too dark. So what I'm looking for is to keep the color a little bit light, so the gold kind of mixes it with the red and it kind of pops, and then this looks so much better, or the red looks so much better. So what I'll do is I'll start with this and do both, and then with the back is right here, and then from there we're gonna go with this one. After 10 minutes we go with this one, and then we do every 10 minutes you wait 10 minutes and then you do another light hand. You're gonna have to do very, very, very light hands with this, because if you go too thick it might run, and if you do too much of red then it goes too dark, and then the gold base doesn't really pop out like my other helmet does. Then from there, if you prefer to keep it like glossy, this does a really, really good gloss. I don't do gloss over this, but if you prefer a matte clear coat, then you have to wait also 10 minutes, do matte clear coat over this red. But for today, I am not doing any clear coat. I usually do just this, because this does a really, really, really good job. Okay, so this is how the gold base will look. It does a really, really good job at, let's suppose, if you have any visible lines that were still not fully covered, I think this gold base does a really, really good job to kind of cover anything else that you might have missed. And it kind of levels everything out. It does pretty good thickly onto the helmet, and it kind of levels itself out pretty good. And as you can see, it looks pretty amazing how it looks right now. So now I'm just gonna wait for 10 minutes, and then we're gonna go for the really extremely hard to use red. Like I said, you want to use the red very, very light coats, because it is a lot finicky, and but that color, it's perfect. Okay, so this is my first light coats. As you can see, there are some spots, right, that are a little bit darker than some of the areas. So this is what you have to be careful with applying too much of this coating, because you can definitely get some areas that are going to be a lot darker than the other areas. So on my second coat, I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to target a little bit of those other areas that are a little bit more lighter than the darker areas, and just be careful when you do all the other areas, because then you get too dark and you don't get that little gold pop from underneath from the helmet. The same thing with the rear. One thing important when you do the rear is to make sure that you match the rear color with the whole helmet. So you don't want this to be too dark and that to be too light. So just make sure that you are looking at how the colors are coming out from each helmet. And then I'll give it 2 more light coats, and then it should be good to go. So you have to wait at least 10 minutes between each coat, and every single coat has to be done within an hour. That's how kind of like finicky this metal cast color is. Okay, so I actually did something new that I have not done with this with the helmet, is actually doing the gloss over the red, and as you can see, it is looking so amazingly, and it looks so shiny. So there you have it. It's it looks freaking amazing. That's awesome. This is the actual gloss that I was using. It is the Duplicolor 1K. The clear says extreme gloss finish. Everything that I've been using for this video, I'm gonna put it in the link. I'm gonna put the links in the description below so you can know what I have used. Okay, so here you have the new helmet and my old helmet side by side. As you can see, my old helmet is a little bit just a tiny little bit darker, and this has no clear coat. This has clear coat. They're pretty close, similar, but this one has a little bit more shine to it, and this one is a little less shine. But even if you don't do clear coat over the metallic or the metal cast red, it does really put out a really good shine out there. So now the next steps, what I'm going to do is basically pretty much finish the helmet how this one looks. So we're going to do the black lines and the black eyes. For the lines, I usually use a paint pen. This is an acrylic paint pen, has a medium tip, and all you do pretty much is wet the tip, you know, inside there's paint, and you can get one full smooth motion on the line, and it actually comes out just like that. And because it's acrylic, just in case if you get just a little bit outside of the line, you can just wipe it off with your hand or with a paper towel. And for the eyes, I just use acrylic gloss black, just like how you see it right there. So usually you just want to show you in this little piece because it's a lot easier to show you than the whole helmet. What I usually do is I take this little paint pen right here and I make sure that there is paint coming out of it. And then all you pretty much do is one smooth motion from end to end, and you'll see that it actually paints the helmet. I usually do like two times. I just wait for this to dry. As you can see, I didn't get like this. I didn't get like one little portion there, but I just let it dry for just a little bit, and then I just go right back at again. So this one, let's see if I can get it in one. I just put the thing right there and just go like that. And there you go. See, look, just one time. This pen works really well on these lines. So I'll just let it dry from there, and then I'll do it over later on to make sure that I get that little second hand, because it is acrylic, so it does sometimes it doesn't get too it's more watery, so you can kind of see a little bit of the red bleeding through. So I just wait for it to dry up and then redo it again. And as you can see, it's pretty simple. Do the same thing with the helmet. You can do the same thing with the helmet. Just make sure that you are careful doing the mouth side and the sides, because there are some sharp corners. I usually stop, go to the next stop, and then go to the next, and in that way. And if you ever, you know, get over a little bit on the outside of the line, just wipe it off with your finger and it comes off. Now, while those lines are actually drying up, before I go over them again, I'm just gonna start doing the eyes. And I use a gloss black acrylic paint, and I just use like a regular, you know, paintbrush, whatever paintbrush you want to use, and pretty much all you gotta do is just pretty much paint everything inside. If you get anything outside of the eye hole, just wipe it down. It should come off pretty easily because this is, I guess, water-based acrylic. And pretty much all you do is just paint all the eye holes until it's black. I usually do the same thing like I do with the lines. I just give it one hand, and then I come back later after it dries and give it a second hand, because it's water-based, it goes in a little light. And then just to make sure that I don't do any other mistakes like painting outside. So I just go slowly until everything is nice and covered, just like my other helmet. Okay, so all the painting, it's completed, and as you can see, let me take it off from this part. You can see all the lines are completed and the eyes have been completely painted, as you can see there, and it looks amazing and it looks really, really beautiful. I really love how this helmet actually came out. I think it's my best one yet and has absolutely no mistakes at all. Now you can leave your helmet just like this, very, very clean, or you can do a little bit of scratches and a little bit of weathering, just like I did with this one. As you can see, there's a little bit of like silver paint here and there, just to give it a little bit of scratches. One thing that why you want to do a little bit of scratches, let's suppose you didn't do your helmet perfectly. Let's suppose there's a couple lines maybe here or there. The scratches are perfectly to just cover them up. Like this one, I probably had like one little scratch right here and I covered them up. And I mean, even though my paint came out amazing, I just wanted to give it that little wear look. So you can do this wear look on this one. I just use silver metallic for the little lines. You have two options also. You can either scrape it yourself, use a little filer and do scrapes here, there, anywhere you want to do to make actual scratches on your beautiful helmet after you're done with it. Or you can just do like sometimes I just do a little bit of silver paint here and there to simulate some scratches. And because it hurts me, it pains me so much if I have to go and start scraping the beautiful paint job that I just did. But like I said, you can use those fake scratches or real scratches to cover up any mistakes that you have had done into your helmet. But there's absolutely no mistakes in this helmet. This is beautiful. All right, so now how are you going to attach the front part with the rear part, right? So I have my method that I use for this is using elastic banding. Is elastic banding that I use to glue the inside of the helmet from the front part to the rear part. I know there's a huge mess in there, but this is how I have my my first helmet done. I know there's a lot of foam padding there. I like my helmet to be nice and tight, but as you can see, I have little small elastic on the top to hold the top, and then I have very long elastic on the sides to be able to open the helmet up. So how I have my helmet here with the elastic bands inside, this is what I do, and I slide my head on inside and then let it close. So the elastic pretty much keeps the helmet, the back part, closed, and then I just open it up like this, pull it up, and opens and closes. I pull my head in there and it closes. Okay, so I usually cut 3 pieces of small of the band for the top, and then I have the longer pieces for the side, right? They go from here to here. The reason why you want it really long from here, I usually glue it from here to like a little bit here. The longer it is, the more it can stretch out, and then the top one, it's small, it just keeps the top really nice and tight. These are not glued in yet, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how I put these there. I use hot glue to glue this to here. Hot glue does a really good job, and then after I do this, like I've done with my other helmet, I use another like elastic band and put it on top of it from here to here to give it a little bit more rigidity, because this is the tightest part. And then after you glue that part in, you do the same thing here. Just make sure you give a little space here, and you glue the other part in when it's closed in, just like this. If you can't be able to see it, just like that, and just glue it there to keep that nice and tight. All right, so I have actually put the top 3 pieces only. I just hot glue them together. You can also use crazy glue if you want to, but as you can see with the 3 pieces already, it closes itself, but of course if you put a little bit of pressure, it opens up. That's why it's the reason why I put these right here, to keep this pretty much close in together. So as you can see, those are the 3 pieces right there, and then this is going to be used on the side and side to keep pretty much this closed in. And here you have it. It is completed with straps inside like I do usually. And as you can see, you can open them, put them inside, and it keeps the back together, just like so. Now, depending on your head size, of course, you will add padding into your helmet. I usually put padding on top, and then I did a lot of padding in this one just because this was one of my first ones that I was doing with the padding. But usually what you will need is padding on the dome of the part of the top of your head. You can put something right for your eyebrows and then something for your cheeks to keep your helmet from going side to side like this and then a little wobble. So basically you just add how much padding you will need depending on your head size. So this is scaled to my head. It fits pretty I guess you could say a little tight. I mean, even though I have a lot of padding, I just wanted to make sure that it is as small as possible to fit my face. Have a smaller head, and then this one is this is the 100% scale. This is 96 scale. You can see just a slight difference there in size. This one is bigger, and yeah. So pretty much that is all that it is needed to be done to get this helmet completed. The other thing that you can do for later on is add lights on the eyes, but that is for another video in the future. If you want to know where I get my LED eyes, just let me know. I'll send you the link, or I'll just post a link in the description below. And the eyes are pretty simple to do also. And that is it. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Actually, really, thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this tutorial. If you have any questions at all about this, about the build, just leave me a comment below and I'll answer you as much as I can. And once again, thank you, and see you guys in the next one.